space here which we're very lucky to be in. This is the state room at the Mansion House in York, and the Mansion House is the place of residence for the Lord Mayor for their time in office. And this room has seen many kind of great occasions really. It's one of the official spaces in the kind of York City Council. And today we're going to be speaking to Sophie Jewett, who's the owner of York Cocoa House and our chocolate specialist on the Blood and Chocolate project. And we're going to be learning a little bit more about that tin that you may have seen in the trailer.
So, Sophie, we actually saw you. You were one of the stars of the video. We saw you in the Cocoa House opening the chocolate box, and then the kind of memories coming out of it. And we did that for a very kind of particular reason. So, can you just give us a bit of the story about what that chocolate box in the video was?
So, the chocolate tin that's in the trailer is a chocolate tin that was sent out to every serviceman that was serving for York in the Great War. So it was sent out that Christmas, and it was a gift given by J.B. Morrell, who was the Lord Mayor of York, and the Sheriff of York, Oscar Fred Rowntree. Now they were both directors of the Rowntree Board at the same time, so they commissioned and got made these chocolate tins that they then sent off to all corners of the world to get to the troops that were serving for the city.
So I mean, that's a brilliant notion, isn't it? That you've got these people spread about, across the front, receiving a memento from home. I mean, it's a really special story, and we're actually lucky that we have one of the original tins here that we borrowed from the archives here at the Mansion House, and we actually know who this one belongs to, don't we?
Yeah, it's a really important element in terms of those tins that went out. If you imagine they went out in the first element of the Great War, and how many of them might have come back. But this one, yes, it does have, we're very lucky to see, that inside here, there is a note with the original packaging, so from the Lord Mayor and Sheriff of York, to say that it's gone to Private L. Peacock.
Great, and there's actually this box is in particular even more fascinating because we still have the chocolate in here. So this is what, nearly 100-year-old chocolate that's inside.
Yeah, so 99-year-old chocolate. I'm not entirely sure if it's the sort of chocolate you'd be wanting to eat, but you can see, we're very careful here, the chunks, York and Rowntree is quite sort of imprinted on the marker.
So Sophie, clearly this guy didn't eat his chocolate. So what was he planning to do with it?
So many of them kept their bar of chocolate, especially for special occasions, thinking it, but when they really, really needed it. But what we know about this bar of chocolate is that in actual fact, Private Peacock sent it home to his mother. And
back in York?
Back in York.
So it did the journey to the front and then back to York?
Yeah, I mean, this letter is addressed to Hull, so they were waiting to go from the docks, and he was part of the engineers regiment that are off laying the tracks of railway across Europe. So it didn't necessarily get straight to the front. But what we do know is from a series of letters that many of the troops wrote back to the Lord Mayor. They sent them letters to say thank you and show their appreciation. And in Private Peacock's letter, he sent to the Lord Mayor, he said that his mother was going to display the box on the wall together with a tin of chocolate that his uncle had received from fighting in the Boer War in South Africa.
Wow.
So, in actual fact, that tin was saved, and it was a very special memento, and I think that's really what this chocolate tin symbolises to so many people. It would symbolise something of hope, or they were being thought of, and something to really kind of keep dear to them, that they weren't necessarily going to crack open until all was well and they were back home safely.
Great.
So we've changed location. We're now in the council debating chamber. This is obviously where all the council meetings take place, and this will have been where council meetings were taking place during the time and place set as well. Can you just give us a bit more background as to the importance of the chocolate industry in York at the time the play is set? So kind of just leading up to the First World War.
Yeah, there's two threads to the chocolate industry really at this stage, and they're perfectly embodied by Terry's and by Rowntree's. So Terry's were creating high-class confections, products for the very rich and the very elite, things that would adorn their dining tables, and that's really where the history of a confectioner in the city comes from, is making things with sugar, this wonderful new thing that comes into the city and is really enjoyed by the higher classes.
So it's something for the wealthy.
Very much so, it's something for the wealthy, and Mr. Terry himself starts off as an apothecary. So you know Mary Poppins, she sings a spoonful of sugar, helps the medicine go down.
Yeah.
That's what Terrys were doing, they were making medicines taste sweeter. So a lot of the original confections have very similar names to the sorts of things that we would see in the chemist shop now, so like cough lozenges and sort of digestion and peppermints after dinner, for example. So we have that thread of the confectionery industry, and that's really sort of set very sternly in Edwardian England, really at its best. So imagine those high teas where you've got really quite lovely delicacies, very intricate things for the dining table, and that kind of social class divide between the wealthy and then
so
the factory
we're in
workers.
kind of Downton Abbey kind of
Very
territory.
much so, yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Rowntree side of things, and Rowntrees are making this drink to be accessible to the masses. Cocoa is really, really nutritious. So we've got Terry's making solid sort of sweets, and then chocolate is kind of a very sort of luxury product in comparison to that. But then you've got Rowntrees creating their cocoa, Rowntrees elect for the masses. So theirs is much more about creating large-scale industry to really appeal to this commercial element of consumerism that starts to break through around that era.
Cool. And as well as producing things for maybe people who had less money, Rowntree's also really cared for its workers, didn't it, at the time?
They did, yeah. There's lots of really strong influences in the Rowntree family. As Quakers, they were really invested in making sure that they contributed back into society. And that really, we see that in terms of work that they did on the ideal social structure of towns, and also about the temperance movement and encouraging people to drink something like cocoa, chocolate, rather than alcohol. And Henry Isaac Rowntree used to have his cocoa cart that he would go around workplaces and encourage people to drink chocolates rather than sort of maybe drinking beer or wine, for example.
So in Blood and Chocolate, we follow the story of really the people who were involved at the Rowntree's factory, and we see how some of them stayed behind and some of them went off to war. And clearly, with them being Quakers, there was a certain discomfort with the idea of going to war. So how did the Rowntree's workers deal with that?
I think you really see coming across, like in the letters that we've read, sort of from the recipients of the tin, there's really strong theme about duty and how to do one's duty. And another really interesting example is Arnold Rowntree, who again is a member of the board of the Rowntree business, but he's actually off doing his duty in Westminster as MP for the City of York during that time. And you really see coming across in the Rowntrees that it's their duty and role to step in to help govern the city and take responsibility to contribute to society in that way as much as they can do without it objecting to their fundamental principle.
Thanks, Sophie. And we'll be hearing a lot more from Sophie as Pilot Live continues, hearing more about the chocolate stories of York, and also maybe getting some chocolate recipes as well as the series continues. I just want to say a big thank you to Sophie for being with us today, and also thank you to the Mansion House and also the Guildhall where we've been filming.